When rainfall hits the Earth's surface, one of two things can happen. Water can run across the surface of the land, or often, water will move into the soil. Soil permeability is a physical characteristic of soil that can be explained by looking closely at the small particles that make up the soil itself. When looking at a handful of soil, you can see that it is made up of many different sized particles. These small particles can be measured and categorized. Think about the difference in size between a piece of gravel and a single grain of sand. The amount of open space between each particle depends on how big the particle size is. As you can see with gravel, the open space is relatively large, and where smaller particles are packed much more tightly together, there is not much open space. So when it rains, water that falls onto gravel will move through it very easily, and water that falls on a soil with a smaller particle size like sand, silt, or clay will have a much harder time moving through. We can see this in an experiment where equal quantities of water are poured into 4 different test tubes. Each tube has a funnel with different types of soil. Water passes through the soil with a higher permeability the easiest, and no water passes through clay because the particles are so densely packed together. When engineers design structures, they keep this in mind and always make sure to provide a pathway for water to flow away from important design elements. An example of this can be seen when building a retaining wall. The design calls for a layer of gravel to be placed on. Doing this creates a pathway for water to move around and under the wall without disturbing it. Without proper drainage, when it rains, there's no real safe spot for the water to go, so it has to force its way through, and this can damage or break the wall. Another example we can look at is in dams. Embankment dams are designed to be moderately permeable. They keep most of the water out, however, they do allow some water to seep through at a slow, controlled rate. With proper drainage and design, this is totally acceptable. However, if the soil is too highly permeable or there is not enough drainage, the water flow will be too great. The increased flow of water washes out soil particles and creates tunnels for water to flow through. This is called piping, and over time, it can lead to complete failure. In summary, soil permeability is the ability of water to move through soil, and it's important to consider when designing civil infrastructure.